Yeah, my name's John G. Sutton, and here we are. Memories of Strangeways Jail. Alright, somebody asked me an interesting question about what the inmates were like and how did I get along with them. Well, basically, inmates are people, just people like you and me. Probably more like me than you. No, but seriously, they're just people who are in an unfortunate situation, and how do you get along with them? Well, they didn't intimidate me. I mean, there were some really nasty people there, and so I was asked a second part of this question: what about the really nasty people? Well, you had to be able to deal with them sensitively, you know. But some would not be dealt with sensitively. Some were really obnoxious and damn dangerous. I'll tell you a little story here. There was one murderer, yeah, who was particularly obnoxious. He was a great big guy, probably about 6'2", but hefty, you know. And he was on the hospital wing, awaiting transfer to Risley, I believe. And he was on the hospital block, and I went to see him. I said, you're going to Risley this afternoon. I said, so you're going to need some clothing, because he was in strip conditions. Strip conditions mean there's nothing in the cell, and all he has is a blanket, and a plastic piss pot and a bucket, to actually slop out with, but nothing else. So I said, you're going to get some clothes. And this guy was called Peter Merry. Now, you can look this up. Yeah, Peter Merry was found guilty in January 1985 of what became known as the Goit Valley murders. Him and his cohorts, he had a couple of guys working with him who helped him to murder people. They were picking individuals up off the streets, telling them lies about they were going to get them a job, and then driving them out to a place called Goyt's Clough near Buxton in Derbyshire, part of the Goit Valley. And there they would strangle them, abuse them, sexually abuse them, strip them naked, all manner of indecencies, and eventually strangle them. Strangle them or throttle them. One of the victims was throttled with a shoelace, strangled with a shoelace. The other one was placed in a headlock and strangled to death. And basically they were murderers, and Peter Merry was the gang leader. He thought he was something special, did Peter Merry. So I had to tell Peter Merry to get ready to get dressed. So I said, tell me what size shirt you want. I'll go and get your shirt. Tell me what size trousers you are. Go and get you some trousers, from the laundry. Just down the road a piece in Strangeways, inside the jail. He says, I'm not discussing that. I'm not getting dressed for this. I said, listen, you've got to get dressed. You're going to Risley. So I said, I don't need to tell me. I'll estimate it. I'll go and get it. So I went and got him a size 17 shirt, which is fairly big, and a size 40 waist trousers, So I took them to his cell, where he was in strip conditions. He looked at them. I'm not wearing these. This is not big enough for me. I've got a man much bigger than that. I said, listen, I asked you what size you wanted. You didn't tell me what size you wanted. You just started shouting abuse at me. I'm at least trying to help you to have some clothing to go to Risley. I'm not wearing these. And he threw them at me. So I took him out of the cell and locked him in. And the arrived to take him, the van arrived to take him to Risley. I opened the cell door. I said, right, you're going to Risley. He said, where's my clothing? I said, you've thrown it at me, you don't want it. I said, you're travelling to Risley naked, mate. I'm not going naked. Yeah, wrong guy. Yeah. Peter Murray went to Risley naked. I handcuffed him and put him in the back of the van. Now, I'm a compassionate man. I don't want to hurt anybody, but what am I going to do? You're a nasty piece of work. Do you know what he said to me as the van doors were closing? He said, if it takes 20 years, he said, I'll come back and murder you, you bastard. Anyway, time passed. more than 20 years now, and he died in prison. Peter Murray, a dangerous, horrible individual, and a convicted murderer. And it wasn't a wrong conviction. He definitely did it. And he would have done me too, but I wasn't actually up for that. I was up for something else. Listen, I'll tell you another strange story about strange stories from Strangeways, yeah? Mad Frankie Fraser was on the landing, and I just happened to be put in charge of that landing during the lunchtime. And I saw Frankie Fraser on the landing. This is about 12:30 when everybody has gone and the prison's in lockdown while the staff have the lunch. So I said to Frankie Fraser, "Fraser, what are you doing here? Why are you out your cell?" "Oh," he said, "it's all right. The chief officer says I can do it. He's a friend of mine." I said, "Is he?" I said, "Now get in your cell." He said, I said, "Don't butt me. Get in your cell." So he went and he did get in his cell, and I locked him in. And I went to see the chief officer after. I said, "Did you tell Frankie Fraser that he could be left out on the landing during lunch hour when everything's in lockdown?" "Oh yeah," he said, "he's all right." I said, "He is not all right. He is a vicious, murdering bastard, and to allow him out is to endanger me, because nobody told me he was going to be left out, and he's locked up, and he'll stay locked up as long as I'm in charge of the landing." And the chief officer says, "Get out of my office." Get out of my office. Yeah, I'm happy to get out of your office. Yeah, but that was another dangerous, horrible, murdering bastard. Frankie Fraser blinded one of the members of staff, not at Strangeways, I think it was at Leeds. He picked up a metal chair and hit the prison officer at the back of the head with the chair, which damaged his optic nerve. And after that, the guy was blind. He was medically retired blind. That's what Frankie Fraser did, from behind. The reason he couldn't come at you from the front was because he was about 5'2". Yeah, you could have picked him up and used him as a bleeding toothpick, like that. I wouldn't have no time with Frankie Fraser. And another nasty piece of work, who I shall not name because he's still alive, but he's from Liverpool and he's a drug dealer. And he was about 35 at the time. Shan't name him, but he knows who he is. And I was on the young offenders wing, and I saw this man, and he was acting as the cleaner on the young offenders wing. So I said to him, "You, get your gear packed, you're off here." "Oh no," he said, "I've been appointed as the cleaner for this wing by the principal officer." I said, "Have you?" I said, "No, when I tell you to get your gear packed, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, go and pack your gear. You're moving immediately off this wing." You see, the Prison Act requires that no adult prisoner be in close association with young offenders, because they'll abuse them. And this guy was a notorious homosexual, and he got himself a young boy, probably about 18, as his cellmate co-cleaner. So immediately that's absolutely cannot be allowed. So I went to see the principal officer, who he'd named, who was in charge of, I think it was E-Wing at the time. And I went to see him. I said, "This guy's moving off E-Wing immediately." "Oh no," he says, "I've appointed him as the cleaner." I said, "I'm not asking you." I said, "I am telling you." I said, "Now he is moving immediately, and when I've moved him, I am going to make a formal report about you and this man to the governor through the chief officer." I said, "And you can tell the chief officer and the governor how you have been in breach of the Prison Act," because he was allowing this guy. Obviously there was some kind of nonsense going on. Now, whether or not this principal officer was taking money or bribes, I don't know. I didn't even bother to ask. All I was doing was making sure that this 36-year-old man at the time, we're talking about 1982, something like that, was not in a position to molest young offenders. I mean, come on, we're supposed to be upholding the law. You can't do that. So anyway, those are just a few of the nasty characters that I encountered. There's another guy that I encountered. Let's tell you this little tale from the dark side. And I was on the landing. In my landing he was on, I think it was E4 at the time. And he says to me, Mr. Sutton, he said, I want such and such a body to be my cellmate. I'm the cleaner, you know. I said, can you arrange it? I said, well, I suppose I could. I said, but why would I want to do that? I said, because we've got cleaners already, you know. Oh no, he said, if you can get this guy in my cell, he's a mate of mine. He said, I'll fix it for you to go to this nightclub. He said, and you can have free drinks and prostitutes and anything you want. He said, all you have to do is go and mention my name. Well, I'm not going to tell you his name, but I know his name anyway. So I said, I said, where's this at? And it was at Blackpool, and he was a former doorman at this club, you know, big bastard, by the way. And so I said, that sounds all right. I said, but I can't see that I'm going to get away with it. What happens if somebody finds out? He says, Mr. Sutton, nobody finds out. He says, there's loads of staff been there and mentioned my name, and that's exactly what they get. They look after me and I look after them. I said, that sounds all right. I said, who's actually been? So he gave me a list. You know, ding, ding, ding. Well, I've got a photographic type memory, so I got it all in, you know. And then I said, all right, let me think about this. So I locked him up and I went to see these members of staff. I said, do you realise that this inmate is bandying your name about as being on the receiving end of favours from him at a certain nightclub in Blackpool? They said, well, who's told you this? I told them who'd told it to me. I said, and now I am going to write it down, all what he's told me, put your name in it because he's named you, yeah, and hand it to the chief officer. Oh, you can't do that. I said, I'm going to do that. That's my job. I said, and I am not being bribed on the landings by inmates. I'm not having it. So anyway, I went round 3 or 4 of them and told them all what I was going to do. And then, guess what? I did it. Yes, you're right. I got myself a big sheet of A4 paper and wrote it all down. And then I went in, got a couple of copies on the photostat machine. I went in to see the chief officer. Said, my report. I said, there's bribery going on here and corruption. I said, and I don't say that this man is right. I'm not saying that these prison officers have been doing this. I don't know. All I know is that he's bandying their names round and attempting to bribe me. So there you have it. Bloody hell, he's looking at this and there were some senior officers in there, you know. What you got to do? All right, thanks.